the art of the deal. Let's start with Donald Trump's overall approach to making deals. Trump always aims extraordinarily high. He sets his sights on something big, then keeps pushing and pushing until he reaches a result. Even if the final deal ends up a bit smaller than his initial dream, more often than not, he still walks away with what he wants. Trump believes the core of great deal-making is mostly instinct, almost an inborn talent, rather than just book smarts. You might find exceptionally intelligent people who freeze up when it comes to real-world negotiating. Meanwhile, there are others with average report cards, but a natural gut feeling for a good deal. Trump thinks those innate entrepreneurial instincts, plus the willingness to take risks, are what separate the deal-makers from the bystanders, and he warns that there's no perfect formula you can copy for overnight success. In his experience, those get-rich-quick schemes you read about rarely pan out. The people who do succeed big usually have to find their own path, using their unique talents and learning by trial and error. Thinking big. One major cornerstone of Trump's philosophy is to think big. If you're going to be thinking about something anyway, he figures, why not dream on a grand scale? Plenty of people limit themselves by thinking small. They're held back by fear of success, fear of making decisions, even fear of winning. Trump saw that hesitation as an opportunity. If others were too timid to aim high, he could be the one to go after the huge projects they wouldn't dare touch. In his early real estate days, Trump helped his father build modest apartments in the boroughs of New York. But even then, he was peeking over the horizon toward Manhattan, the big city across the river. He decided that working in good, middle-class neighborhoods wasn't enough. He wanted the Manhattan skyline. So, in the late 1970s, Trump took a leap on a crumbling hotel next to Grand Central Terminal called the Commodore. Where others saw a money-losing eyesore, Trump envisioned a grand renovation. He struck a deal to acquire the fading Commodore and, with the help of a business partner and city tax incentives, transformed it into the gleaming Grand Hyatt Hotel. That bold move, to take on a massive high-profile property at a young age, announced his arrival as a major player in Manhattan real estate. From then on, Trump's ambitions only grew larger. He prefers making one huge splash over a dozen small ripples. For example, when he expanded into Atlantic City, he didn't settle for building just another hotel. He planned a giant hotel and casino complex that could earn far more than a standalone hotel. Back in New York, he looked at a vast stretch of undeveloped rail yards on the west side and imagined an entirely new neighborhood of skyscrapers. Trump became almost obsessive about focusing on colossal goals. He even admits that living with such single-minded drive might not lead to a relaxed life. But he also points out that this big thinking mindset is powerful. It's how you get truly extraordinary things done. Protect the downside. Despite his public image as a bold risk-taker, Trump insists that he never truly gambles when making deals. A gambler is the guy feeding coins into the slot machine. He likes to say, "I'd rather be the one who owns the slot machine." In other words, he always tries to stack the odds in his favor. A key Trump rule is to protect the downside of any deal. Before he jumps in, he asks, "What's the worst-case scenario here?" If he can live with the worst case, then he feels the rest will take care of itself. And if the worst case is too terrible, he simply won't do the deal. On the rare occasion he ignored this rule and went for a long-shot gamble, it stung him. For instance, he once bought a team in a fledgling football league, the USFL, which turned out to be a flop. That failure reinforced his belief that if you try to hit a home run every time, you can strike out hard. Trump's entry into the Atlantic City casino business is a perfect example of how he protects his downside. When he set out to build his first casino on the boardwalk, he didn't just pour money in blindly. Instead, he carefully limited his risk at each step. He negotiated options to buy several pieces of boardwalk property, but each purchase was made contingent on a bigger plan coming together. He'd only commit to buying the land if he managed to assemble all the adjacent lots he needed for the casino site and if New Jersey gaming authorities approved his casino license. This way, if any part of the plan fell through, he could walk away without having sunk tens of millions of dollars. Even after securing the land and the crucial license, Trump still didn't go it alone on the huge construction costs. He brought in the Holiday Inn Corporation, owners of the Harrah's Casino brand, as a 50-50 partner. Holiday Inn would put up the money to build a casino hotel and even cover initial operating losses if the business struggled. In return, Trump agreed they'd split the profits down the middle. That meant giving up a chunk of potential earnings, but it also meant that if the casino bombed, half the losses wouldn't come out of his pocket. By sharing the risk, Trump made sure that a worst-case scenario wouldn't wipe him out. This cautious strategy paid off, especially when you compare it to others who were less careful. One of Trump's rivals, hotel magnate Baron Hilton, tried to break into Atlantic City around the same time, but took a much bolder and riskier approach. Hilton went ahead and built an entire casino hotel before securing a gambling license, betting that approval would come through in time. It didn't. At the last minute, with a nearly finished casino and no license to open it, Hilton was forced to sell everything in a fire sale. And who was waiting in the wings to snap up that prime property at a discount? Trump, of course. He acquired Hilton's doomed project and rebranded it as Trump's Castle. Hilton's misstep was a perfect example of what Trump warns against. If you don't protect your downside, you might end up handing a golden opportunity to your competitor. Maximize options. Trump also emphasizes staying flexible and keeping multiple options in play. In the business world, even the most promising deal can collapse without warning. A financing source might dry up, a partner could back out, a city official could say no. Trump's antidote is to never put all his eggs in one basket. He likes to juggle several deals or ideas at once, so that if one falls through, he has something else to pivot to quickly. And within any single project, he always tries to have a plan B and C and D if necessary. If one approach hits a dead end, he's ready to activate another angle to keep things moving forward. A story from Trump's early career shows this in action. In the late 1970s, Trump set his sights on a huge parcel of land, the old Penn Central Rail Yards on West 34th Street in Manhattan. His first idea was to build a massive complex of middle-income apartments there. But that plan ran into trouble when New York City hit a financial crisis, and the financing for housing dried up. Instead of giving up on the site, Trump quickly switched to another vision entirely. He proposed that the city build a new convention center on the property. For 2 years, he campaigned and lobbied officials, pitching the rail yards as the perfect spot for a convention hall. Eventually, the city and state agreed, in part thanks to Trump's persistence, and they went ahead and built the Jacob K. Javits Convention Center on that location. If that convention center idea had failed, Trump was already brainstorming other uses for the land. He wasn't about to let a prime opportunity sit idle. The lesson here is clear. By maximizing your options and always having a backup plan, you can turn setbacks into victories. Know the market. Know the market. That means truly understanding the people you're trying to sell to or work with. Some individuals, whether in business, entertainment, or any field, just have a knack for sensing what their audience wants. Trump considers himself one of those people with an instinctive feel for the market. Rather than over-relying on focus groups or expensive consultants, he prefers to do his own informal research. He'll talk to anyone who might give him insight: taxi drivers, pedestrians on the street, workers on his construction sites, potential buyers touring a property. By chatting with everyday folks and listening to their opinions, he gathers a ton of real-world feedback. He then pieces together those insights until he feels confident he knows what will attract customers. Trump is also careful not to be too swayed by the latest fads or by what elite critics say. Tastes and trends can change overnight. One year, everyone loves sleek modern glass buildings. The next year, the fashion swings to ornate, old-fashioned styles. Trump believes that chasing every new trend or listening too much to the naysayers is a mistake. A great example was the development of Trump Tower in the early 1980s. At the time, some New York architectural critics looked down their noses at Trump's plan for an ultra-luxurious brass and glass skyscraper with a marble atrium on Fifth Avenue. They thought it might be too gaudy or over the top for New York. But Trump had taken the pulse of the public in his own way. He was confident that people would be excited by the glamour of it, and he was right. When Trump Tower opened, crowds of New Yorkers and tourists poured in to see the waterfall and the shiny gold escalators. The building quickly became a hit, both commercially, stores and apartments sold briskly, and even critically. It ended up receiving some praise for its design after all. By trusting his understanding of the market desires, Trump created a project that people loved, despite the early doubts from the experts. Use leverage. In negotiations, Trump firmly believes you must always have leverage. Leverage means something to bargain with, an advantage that makes the other side eager to give you what you want. If you come to a deal looking desperate or empty-handed, that's, as Trump would say, the kiss of death. So if he doesn't have an obvious piece of leverage, he'll find a way to create one. Often this requires a bit of imagination and nerve. The goal is to put yourself in a position where the other side feels they need what you have, or fear what will happen if they don't work with you. One of Trump's early triumphs, the Commodore Hotel deal, was a masterclass in creating leverage. In 1976, Trump was trying to take over the aging Commodore Hotel, which sat in a prime spot next to Grand Central Station, but had fallen into bankruptcy and disrepair. To make the project feasible, Trump needed the city to grant a massive tax break and other concessions. How could a 30-year-old developer persuade the city to give special treatment? Trump found a way. He convinced the owners of the bankrupt Commodore to publicly announce they were shutting the hotel down for good. The news of an imminent closure, essentially the threat of a huge, empty, graffiti-covered building in the heart of Midtown Manhattan, got city officials worried. They didn't want a dead hotel casting a shadow over 42nd Street and dragging down the neighborhood. Practically overnight, saving the Commodore became important to the city. Trump's gambit worked. The city, eager to avoid a boarded-up eyesore, agreed to an unprecedented 40-year tax abatement to help him revive the hotel. With that boost and a partnership from the Hyatt hotel chain, Trump renovated the Commodore into the glitzy Grand Hyatt. By making the city fear the worst, a dark, empty hotel, Trump got what he needed to make the deal happen on his terms. Trump has used leverage in many other clever ways. When he was negotiating with Holiday Inn to partner on his Atlantic City casino, for example, he made sure the project looked further along than it really was. He started construction groundwork early so that when the Holiday Inn executives came to visit the site, they saw steel and concrete already rising. Seeing that, the executives felt Trump had momentum, and they didn't want to miss out. It made them more willing to sign on as partners in a deal favorable to Trump. Another time, in the 1980s, Trump was trying to lure NBC, a major television network, to build a new headquarters on a property he owned on the west side of Manhattan. To get the city and NBC interested, he simply dubbed the site Television City. That name was strategic. It suggested that a big TV studio complex was destined for that land. City officials knew NBC was searching for a new home, and they badly wanted to keep the network in New York. By calling his project Television City in advance, Trump gave the impression that NBC was already in the mix, which pressured both the city and NBC to seriously consider his proposal. In both cases, Trump manufactured leverage by highlighting something the other side greatly desired: a ready-to-go casino, a new TV studio complex, to strengthen his hand in negotiations. Enhance the location. There's a famous saying in real estate: location, location, location. It means that where a property is situated is the top priority, sometimes even more important than what it is. Trump certainly values a good location, but he also believes a developer can enhance a location and make it more valuable. In his view, it's not always necessary to pay top dollar for the best address in town. Sometimes you can pick a spot that's less than perfect and then elevate it through smart development and marketing. The right project, with the right features and branding, can turn even a fairly ordinary location into a hot destination. Essentially, Trump suggests that creating an aura or image around a property can boost its appeal beyond what the raw location alone would warrant. For example, Trump Tower, which Trump built in the early 1980s, occupies one of the most prime corners in New York City, 5th Avenue and 57th Street. But Trump didn't rely solely on the prestige of the address to attract buyers and visitors. He went out of his way to make Trump Tower synonymous with luxury and glamour. The building features a grand atrium with a cascading waterfall, mirrored walls, marble everywhere, and brass fixtures shining at every turn. He made sure everyone knew it was no ordinary office tower. The result? Trump Tower became a must-see attraction and one of the most desirable properties in the city, effectively enhancing even that already famous location with an extra dose of sparkle and excitement. A few years later, Trump attempted a similar magic trick on a less celebrated site. He built an apartment building called Trump Plaza on 3rd Avenue and 61st Street, a part of Manhattan that at the time didn't have the cachet of a 5th Avenue. 3rd Avenue was considered nice, but not top tier for luxury real estate. However, Trump poured quality into the building, elegant design, high-end amenities, and, of course, his now well-known name emblazoned on it. The Trump brand itself brought a sense of prestige. Wealthy buyers ended up eager to live there, even though it wasn't on a traditionally elite street. In doing so, he raised the profile of that corner of the city. Trump Plaza's success showed that a strong brand and a superior product can elevate a location's reputation. Trump doesn't just look for great locations, he looks for great deals where he can make the location great. Get the word out. Trump is a master of getting the word out. No matter how wonderful your product or project is, nobody will buy it or get excited about it if they don't even know it exists. So Trump makes publicity and public attention a central part of his strategy. He often says that media coverage can be worth more than expensive advertising. He's not shy about courting press coverage. In fact, he'll happily stir up a little controversy or exaggeration if it means getting his projects on a front page. The way he sees it, being talked about, even critically, is far better than being ignored. Publicity generates buzz, and buzz brings in business. One example of Trump creating buzz was when he announced a plan to build the world's tallest building on a stretch of land he owned along the Hudson River on Manhattan's west side. This was a bold proposal that many people found outrageous. Critics and neighborhood groups hated the idea, and it ignited a big debate. But from Trump's perspective, it was a brilliant publicity play. The proposal made front-page headlines and had the whole city talking about what would happen on that piece of land. Even though that particular skyscraper was never built, it was more of an idea than a concrete plan. The land suddenly became infamous as the potential site of an architectural record breaker. In other words, everyone now knew Trump had a huge project brewing there, which only increased interest from investors and the public. Trump also knows how to handle the media once he has their attention. When reporters throw tough questions at him or try to paint his projects in a negative light, he seizes the chance to turn it around. If someone says, "Your plan is too extravagant," or "Neighbors are complaining," Trump might respond with something like, "This project is going to create thousands of jobs and revitalize the area. That's why so many people are excited about it." He focuses on the positives and sells his vision. He's even coined a tongue-in-cheek term for his style of promotional exaggeration: truthful hyperbole. By that he means he'll sometimes make grandiose statements that stretch the truth a bit, but in his view, they're still rooted in an underlying truth. It's his way of generating excitement. A little showmanship, he suggests, doesn't hurt, as long as you eventually deliver on it. And indeed, thanks to his knack for publicity, Trump's ventures often become talking points, ensuring that potential customers know exactly what he's offering. Fight back. Sometimes playing nice just doesn't cut it in the business world. Trump believes that when someone treats you unfairly or tries to take advantage of you, you have to fight back, and fight back hard. He doesn't subscribe to the turn the other cheek philosophy in a competitive, high-stakes environment. Instead, if he feels cheated or attacked, he's more than willing to engage in a showdown. Now, Trump acknowledges this can be risky. Pushing back aggressively might escalate a conflict, and there's always a chance it could backfire. But more often than not, in Trump's experience, standing up for yourself scares off the bullies and naysayers who would otherwise walk all over you. A notable example of Trump fighting back was during the development of Trump Tower in the early 1980s. Trump Tower was entitled to a standard tax break that New York City usually gave to new residential buildings. However, for political reasons, the city initially refused to give Trump this tax exemption for his project. Rather than shrug and accept it, Trump went to war over it, legally speaking. He sued the city of New York not once but 6 times to get that tax abatement. Many people thought it was a lost cause to battle City Hall so fiercely, but Trump persisted. Eventually, he won. The court sided with him, and he got the tax relief for Trump Tower, setting a precedent that even other developers benefited from later. By refusing to back down, Trump turned a no into a yes. The fight was long and contentious, but it proved his point that sometimes you have to hammer away to get what's fair. Trump also notes that if you achieve any significant success, you're bound to attract a few enemies or critics. Some people just enjoy trying to block others, especially someone making big waves. His approach to these detractors is straightforward. Confront them head on. If a rival or a critic tries to make trouble, Trump will call them out or hit back in the press or in court, rather than quietly endure the attacks. His view is that by fighting back and not being intimidated, he not only protects his interests, but also earns respect. Even those who don't like him at least know he's not someone who gives up easily. In Trump's world, it's often better to be known as a fighter who defends his projects and reputation, because that deterrence can prevent future trouble. Deliver the goods. While Trump is a big believer in hype and promotion, he is equally adamant about one thing: you must deliver the goods. You can't con people, he says, at least not for long. You might grab attention with flashy marketing or bold promises, but if you don't back it up with a quality product or real results, people will figure it out quickly. In Trump's mind, credibility is key. When he gives his word or touts how amazing something will be, he knows his reputation is on the line to actually make it happen. In real estate development, delivering the goods means constructing buildings that live up to the sales pitch. Trump learned that many developers talk a big game, but not all of them follow through. A famous example is the competition that sprang up after Trump Tower's success. Trump Tower was not just hyped as luxurious. It truly was luxurious, with features like a 5-story waterfall, Italian marble floors, and gleaming brass finishes. Buyers could see and touch the quality, Visitors could walk in and be wowed. After it became a hit, other builders tried to copy Trump's formula by planning glitzy atriums and fancy amenities in their own projects. But when those competitors saw the price tag of installing artful waterfalls or gold plating everything, many of them scaled back to cut costs. Their buildings ended up far less impressive than what they had promised, and they didn't capture the public's imagination the way Trump Tower did. Trump, operating at the high end of the market, was willing to spend the money to truly deliver on luxury. He understood that if you promise people the moon, you better at least show them some stars. In the long run, consistently delivering a top-notch product earned him a reputation, among supporters at least, as someone whose properties matched the hype. Contain the costs. Along with all the big dreams and bold marketing, Trump never forgets the nuts and bolts of business, especially the numbers. One of his mantras is to contain the costs. It might not be glamorous to talk about penny pinching, but Trump learned from his father that every penny counts in the bottom line. He has been known to personally scrutinize bills from contractors and suppliers, and if something looks overpriced, he'll get on the phone and argue about it. Little savings here and there can add up to millions in a big project. And big savings can be the difference between profit and loss. This focus on cost control helped Trump outmaneuver competitors in projects like his casinos. In Atlantic City, many developers ended up with huge budget overruns and delays when building their flashy resorts. Trump was determined not to fall into that trap. When he built Trump Plaza, his first casino hotel on the boardwalk, he kept a tight rein on the budget and timeline. The project opened on time and on budget, which meant it was welcoming gamblers during the prime summer season. Because he opened as scheduled, Trump Plaza started bringing in revenue while some rivals were still stuck in construction or dealing with costly setbacks. By containing his costs and sticking to his deadlines, Trump gained a crucial advantage in the cutthroat casino market. One of Trump's favorite stories about efficiency and cost saving is the Woolman Rink renovation in New York City. Woolman Rink is a public ice skating rink in Central Park that the city government had closed for renovations in the early 1980s. The project was a disaster. The city spent 6 years and millions of dollars, and the rink was still a broken, empty hole in the ground. Frustrated, Trump volunteered to take over the job. He promised he could get it done faster and cheaper, and he made good on that promise. Trump completed the rink's reconstruction in just a few months and under budget, opening it in time for Christmas. New Yorkers were amazed that a private developer accomplished in less than 1 year what the city couldn't do in 6. The rink reopened to happy skaters, and Trump got praise for cutting through red tape and waste. The Woolman Rink project was a simple construction job compared to Trump's skyscrapers, but it proved a point. Tightly controlling costs and execution can be as impressive as building something big and shiny. To Trump, saving money and finishing ahead of schedule isn't just good business. It also builds his legend as a can-do guy who delivers results efficiently. Have fun. Finally, Trump emphasizes that you should have fun with what you do. He recognizes that success and money aren't worth much if you're miserable. Despite his hard-driving style, Trump often talks about his work as a form of play. He sees deals almost like a sport. The thrill is in the competition and the challenge itself, not just the trophy at the end. In fact, he notes that for him, money is a way of keeping score of how well he's doing. But it's not the ultimate goal that makes him happy day to day. Trump reminds us that life is fragile and unpredictable, so it's important to enjoy the ride. He clearly loves the hustle of deal-making, the negotiations, the strategy, the back-and-forth drama of big projects. This passion is part of why he keeps going after new ventures even when he could easily retire. The chase, the game, the excitement of pulling off the next big deal. That's his idea of fun. As Trump himself puts it, the real excitement is playing the game. In other words, the journey matters as much as the destination. By keeping that sense of fun and adventure, he stays motivated and energized, and that enthusiasm often rubs off on the people working with him. In summary, Donald Trump's deal-making playbook combines a bold vision with calculated caution. He thinks big, but always protects himself on the downside. He keeps multiple options open and trusts his gut understanding of the market. He creates leverage out of nothing and boosts the value of locations with savvy promotion. He relentlessly publicizes his projects and isn't afraid to fight back against opposition. Crucially, he backs up his big talk by delivering quality, all while keeping an eye on costs. And through it all, he remembers to enjoy the process. This blend of ambition, strategy, showmanship, and passion is the essence of what Trump calls the art of the deal. Early life and education. Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York City. He is the fourth of 5 children born to Frederick "Fred" Christ Trump, a successful real estate developer, and Mary Ann MacLeod Trump, a Scottish immigrant. Trump grew up in the affluent Jamaica Estates neighborhood of Queens, where he observed his father's real estate business from an early age. As a teenager, Trump had some behavioral difficulties, leading his parents to enroll him in the New York Military Academy at age 13 to instill discipline. He thrived in the Academy's regimented environment and graduated in 1964. Trump attended Fordham University in the Bronx for 2 years before transferring to the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. He graduated in 1968 with a bachelor's degree in economics from Wharton. During the Vietnam War era, Trump received 4 student draft deferments while in college and later a medical deferment attributed to bone spurs in his feet, which prevented him from being drafted into military service. Upon finishing his education, Trump returned to New York to join his father's real estate company, yearning to make a mark beyond the outer boroughs. Business career and real estate empire. Trump began his business career working for his father's firm, Elizabeth Trump & Son, which built middle-income housing in New York's boroughs. In 1974, at just 28, Donald Trump became president of the family business, later renamed the Trump Organization, and he soon set his sights on larger, high-profile projects. Embracing a personal philosophy of thinking big, he sought opportunities in Manhattan and beyond, often taking bold risks in pursuit of marquee properties. One of his first major deals was acquiring the old Commodore Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Backed by generous tax abatements from the city and a loan guarantee from his father, Trump redeveloped it into the Grand Hyatt Hotel, which opened in 1980 and was a commercial success. In 1983, he opened the Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue, a 58-story mixed-use skyscraper that would become his signature property and personal residence. The Trump Tower's glitzy atrium and brass-accented decor became emblematic of the Trump brand of luxury and extravagance. Throughout the 1980s, Trump greatly expanded his real estate empire. He developed and acquired high-end Manhattan properties, including Trump Plaza, 1984, and a stake in the historic Plaza Hotel, which he bought in 1988 for over $400 million. Simultaneously, he ventured into the casino industry in Atlantic City, New Jersey. By 1990, he owned 3 casinos there, Trump Plaza, Trump's Castle, and the opulent Trump Taj Mahal, making him a major player in the gambling resort city. Trump also diversified into other businesses. He purchased the New Jersey Generals football team in the short-lived USFL, a large yacht he named the Trump Princess, the Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, which he later converted into a private club, and even an airline, Trump Shuttle. Trump's rapid expansion, often funded by enormous loans, led to serious financial trouble when the U.S. economy entered a recession in 1990. Overextended, with about $5 billion in debt, nearly $1 billion of it personally guaranteed, Trump struggled to make loan payments. In 1991 and 1992, several of his Atlantic City casinos and the Plaza Hotel filed for bankruptcy, forcing him to cede stakes and sell off assets. As part of a restructuring, Trump gave up his airline and yacht, took on stringent personal spending limits, and saw most major banks refuse him new credit. By the early 1990s, there was widespread doubt about Trump's future, with estimates of his net worth ranging from positive $1 to $2 billion to nearly $900 million in the red. However, Trump engineered a comeback by the mid-1990s. A booming economy and a willingness of Deutsche Bank and other lenders to extend credit allowed him to return to major real estate projects. He built the Trump World Tower, completed 2001 in New York, and the Trump International Hotel and Tower in Chicago, completed 2009, among other developments. Trump also capitalized on his personal brand by licensing the Trump name for numerous projects worldwide, from hotels and golf courses to steaks and neckties, often earning fees and royalties for buildings he did not personally develop. In 1996, he bought out the Miss Universe organization, which ran the Miss Universe, Miss USA, and Miss Teen USA pageants, adding to his media profile. Despite his resurgence, some ventures continued to struggle. His publicly traded casino company filed for bankruptcy protection again in 2004 and 2009. One of the biggest boosts to Trump's fortunes came from television. In 2004, he launched The Apprentice, a reality TV show in which contestants competed for a job in Trump's organization. The program was a hit, featuring Trump's boardroom showmanship and his catchphrase, "You're fired." It ran for 14 seasons, including a Celebrity Apprentice spinoff, and made Trump a household name with a new generation. Trump reportedly earned about $200 million directly from the show over 16 years. The success of The Apprentice greatly enhanced Trump's public persona as a shrewd, decisive business mogul, and it reinvigorated his deal-making opportunities. During this period, Trump also co-authored a number of business books, most famously Trump, The Art of the Deal, 1987, a bestseller that touted his bold approach to negotiations and deal-making. In that book, Trump outlined elements of his business philosophy, such as aiming high, trusting one's instincts, and always protecting the downside risk. By the 2010s, the Trump name had become a global brand. Forbes frequently listed Trump among the world's wealthiest individuals, though Trump's exact net worth and the extent of his debts was often a point of contention. Trump famously guarded his private financial details until becoming legally compelled to disclose some information years later. His portfolio, run through the Trump Organization, largely a family enterprise, included luxury hotels, office towers, golf resorts in several countries, and various licensing deals. Despite numerous business controversies, from the collapse of Trump University, which led him to pay a $25 million settlement to defrauded students in 2016, to a court-ordered shutdown of the Trump Foundation charity over misuse of funds in 2019. Trump cultivated an image of himself as an indomitable billionaire who always bounces back. His high-profile lifestyle, gold-plated penthouse, celebrity friendships, and tabloid fodder marriages and divorces made him a constant presence in the New York media world for decades, paving the way for his entry into politics. Family, personal life, and public image. Donald Trump's family and personal life have been inseparable from his public identity, often making headlines in their own right. He has been married 3 times. His first wife, Ivana Trump, was not only his spouse, but a business partner who held executive roles in the Trump Organization during the 1980s. Glamorous and assertive, Ivana helped personify the Trump brand of the go-go 80s. The couple's very public divorce in 1992, amid Trump's affair with Marla Maples, was a tabloid sensation, casting Trump in an unflattering light as a philandering husband. With Ivana, Trump has 3 children, Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump, all of whom would later become integral to his business and eventually his political campaigns. Ivanka, in particular, emerged as Trump's favored child and confidant. She and her husband Jared Kushner served as senior advisors in Trump's White House, a historically unusual instance of family members in such official roles. Trump's second marriage to Marla Maples was shorter-lived, 1993 to 1999, but produced a daughter, Tiffany Trump, who grew up mostly out of the spotlight in California with her mother. Trump's third and current wife is Melania Trump, a former model from Slovenia who became First Lady in 2017. Melania has generally kept a low public profile, focusing on a Be Best initiative for children, and is only the second foreign-born First Lady in U.S. history, after Louisa Adams. Together, Donald and Melania have one son, Barron Trump, born in 2006, who during his father's presidency was a school-aged child growing up in the White House. Trump's relationships with his children are notably close in his professional sphere. Don Jr. and Eric ran the Trump Organization during his presidency as executive vice presidents and became prominent advocates for him on the campaign trail. Ivanka, who had her own fashion business, stepped into politics with surprising ease, often seen as a polished, moderating influence on her father. Kushner, Ivanka's husband, was entrusted with major portfolios in the administration, from Middle East peace to government innovation, despite his youth, and had Trump's ear perhaps as much as anyone. This nepotism drew criticism, but Trump valued loyalty above all, and who would be more loyal than family? His sister, Mary Ann Trump Barry, is a retired federal judge, and though she stayed out of politics, leaked audio in 2020 revealed she privately criticized Trump's character and policies harshly. Trump's older brother, Fred Jr., died tragically young in 1981 due to alcoholism, an event Trump says profoundly affected him. He reportedly does not drink alcohol at all because of Fred's fate. Trump has often spoken of his brother's memory as a cautionary tale about addiction. In terms of personality and lifestyle, Donald Trump has cultivated an image of extravagant wealth and success. He is known for his distinct appearance, the trademark reddish-blonde hair swoop, the tan, and his preference for suits with long ties, which has made him one of the most recognizable figures in pop culture. His name is emblazoned on towers, hotels, casinos, steaks, vodka, cologne, an eponymous empire that at its core is about selling the Trump persona. Trump relishes luxury. He's owned a Boeing 757 private jet, Trump Force One, multiple mansions, including Mar-a-Lago, and a fleet of high-end cars. He is also an avid golfer, owning golf clubs around the world and spending a considerable amount of time on the golf course both during and after his presidency. To his admirers, Trump is a straight-talking icon who projects strength, confidence, and patriotism. They see him as someone who tells it like it is, unfazed by political correctness or elite opinion, and who fights for the forgotten men and women against a corrupt establishment. This image, carefully honed through The Apprentice and his rallies, is of a winner and deal-maker who can get things done. Trump's supporters often laud his economic policies for boosting growth, credit him with reshaping a judiciary that reflects their values, and applaud his willingness to stand up to foreign adversaries and allies alike in the name of American interests. They also often find his brashness refreshing, interpreting his frequent exaggerations or falsehoods as simply part of his rhetorical style or means to an end. Indeed, many in his base take his words seriously, but not literally. As one famous analysis put it, to his detractors, however, Trump's public image is something very different. Critics see Trump as someone who built an empire on self-promotion, not substance, and who has habitually lied or distorted the truth to a breathtaking degree while showing a disregard for democratic norms. The Washington Post's fact-checkers counted 30,573 false or misleading claims by Trump during his presidency, a statistic often cited by those concerned about his effect on truth in public discourse. Opponents described Trump as divisive, pointing to how he frequently insulted political opponents and minority groups. They argue he stoked racial and social tensions for political gain, e.g., his equivocation after Charlottesville, his Muslim travel ban, his family separation policy. Trump's handling of the 2020 election, refusing to accept the result and inspiring an attack on the Capitol, for many cemented the view that he represents a genuine threat to American democracy. Consequently, public opinion polls have consistently shown Trump to be a historically unpopular president outside his base. Even at the peak of economic prosperity, his approval barely hit the mid-40s, and during impeachments and COVID, it sank into the 30s. Internationally, surveys found that confidence in the U.S. presidency plummeted during Trump's term among many allied nations, reflecting concerns about his leadership of the free world. Trump's celebrity and notoriety are such that he commands attention unlike any other. He has been a subject of countless books, documentaries, and portrayals. Alec Baldwin's caricature of Trump on Saturday Night Live became famous, to Trump's visible annoyance. Comedians, cartoonists, and late-night hosts have endlessly lampooned his unique speaking style, full of superlatives: tremendous, disaster, never been anything like it, sentence fragments, and hyperbole. At the same time, Trump's rallies became almost a cultural phenomenon of their own, part political event, part entertainment spectacle, where Trump the showman would riff for hours, drawing energy from the crowd chants, "Build a wall," "Lock her up," or "USA." He has an innate sense of showmanship and media manipulation, honed from his reality TV days, which allowed him to dominate news cycles and keep the spotlight on himself, for better or worse. Physically, Trump is one of the few U.S. presidents who did not age into a visibly grayer, gaunter version of himself while in office. He looked much the same entering and exiting the White House, a fact some joked was thanks to his makeup and hair routine. Despite questions about his diet, he's known to enjoy fast food like McDonald's and well-done steak with ketchup, and lack of exercise, aside from golf. Trump's personal physician in office gave rosy health reports, though their credibility was debated. Public image also extends to how history might view Trump. His supporters believe he will be remembered as a transformational president who broke the mold and championed populist policies that benefited the American middle class, challenging a stale consensus. His critics predict he will be remembered as a demagogue who weakened institutional safeguards and whose presidency was marked by chaos and scandal. Early scholarly surveys of presidential historians, admittedly many of whom lean liberal, ranked Trump near the bottom in overall leadership, citing his failures in crisis management and moral authority. But these assessments can evolve with time and perspective. Even out of office, briefly in 2021 to 2024, Trump dominated the Republican Party. Candidates vying for office mimicked his style, and the party's base remained loyal to him, illustrating the enduring brand he created. Terms like Trumpism emerged to describe his blend of nationalism, anti-elitism, and strongman politics. Some Republicans who once distanced themselves found it politically necessary to align with him, while the few high-profile GOP critics, like Representative Liz Cheney, were largely purged or marginalized. In that sense, Trump reshaped the political landscape and public discourse in a lasting way. In April 2025, as Trump sits in the Oval Office once again, his public image continues to be polarizing and outsized. He still draws massive media attention with every statement or rally. His Twitter account, recently reinstated, and social media posts on his own platform, Truth Social, are scanned intensely for policy signals or incendiary declarations. Half the country hangs on his words with hope or adulation, the other half with dread or outrage. Donald Trump's life and career up to 2025 form a narrative almost unheard of in American public life. From Queens-born real estate tycoon to tabloid celebrity, from reality TV star to the presidency twice, he has consistently defied expectations and courted controversy. His tenure in the White House the first time was marked by major economic shifts, contentious policies, and unprecedented political strife, yet also saw achievements like tax reform and new Middle East accords. His post-2020 refusal to concede and subsequent return to power in 2024 have few, if any, parallels in U.S. history, other than perhaps the comeback of President Cleveland in the 1890s. Love him or loathe him, Donald Trump has left an indelible mark on the American political and cultural landscape. As of April 2025, at age 78, he continues to chart an unpredictable course. A larger-than-life figure whose story is still unfolding and whose ultimate legacy will be debated for years to come.